Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today and Tarot. My name is Mel Rose. This is the Tarot portion and the second half of my daily astrology vlog, which you can check out on my other channel, Astrology Today with Mel Rose. Over there, you'll find a description of the day's astrology as I've spelled it out here. Here I will discuss the tarot card that sits on the side of the page, and then I'll play another card that, in the context of today's astrology, may just give us something more to think about. So let's get into it. The card that currently sits on the side of the page is the Six of Swords. I was just making sure it's supposed to still be there. And the Six of Swords corresponds in astrology with the second 10 days or the second decan of the sun's transit in the land of Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is an air sign. Swords in Tarot represent air element symbolism. And air element symbolism is very much about the intellect, the rationale, right? The things we think, plan, and communicate, sort of how we analyze things, and even sort of the strategies we use to engage in conflict. So we come to the Six of Swords, and we see sort of a scene of strategy. This strategy is called retreat. So this sort of indicates a moment where we have come to an impasse, shall we say, in the life that we have been living, right? Either, some sort of cooperation, collaboration, some group that we've been a part of, some relationship we've been a part of, something that we've been a part of has kind of spit us out. Either we have rejected it or it has rejected us. Perhaps it felt toxic or harmful. Perhaps it just felt like, we couldn't get into it or be a part of it. One way or another, it wasn't working for us. And we feel like we have to move away from it, right? So part of the problem is that when you get into those situations, no matter how rational you try to be about including yourself, no matter how rational you try to be about, let's say, sharing with people, giving people your input, working the plan with others, working the plan even for yourself, the more things don't go the way we think they should be going, the more emotionally disrupted we become, and then it becomes harder and harder to think clearly, right? So we come to this place, that's sort of an impasse, and we know that we're not making any progress, so we decide to retreat. We're moving on. We're in transition. We're going to leave something behind, and, the journey that we're on here to leave this thing behind and move on, whether it's a journey of the heart and mind or an actual physical journey to move away from a place, it's necessary to our own progress, right? It helps remove us from a bad situation and hopefully place us in a better situation that promises more potential and definitely like more of an emotional calm. And with emotional calm comes that ability again to think clearly, to reassess ourselves and our situation, where we've been, and hopefully knowing a little bit better, then we can go ahead and move forward. Okay, so that's the Six of Swords. And now I'm going to turn this card over, and you'll notice that I'm using different cards today. I got some guidance to use different cards because I keep having the same cards come up in the other deck. And y'all, I really try to shuffle them. There are 78 cards in that deck, but I still seem to be getting the same 5 of them a lot of the time. So we're going to go on and use this different deck. This is called the Forhasha Guide deck, and it's kind of a fairyland guidance deck, but it does correspond somewhat with the Rider-Waite. It just has its own sort of images and stories that go with it. So this is the Elder of Water, and the Elder of Water would correspond in the Rider-Waite deck, this regular tarot deck, with the King of Cups, right? So cups are water element symbolism. Water element symbolism is very much about how things feel to us, right? It's somewhat about our bodies, about how it feels to be in our bodies. It's about the emotional life. When we have an experience, we often have an emotion as a result of that experience. And those emotions will bring up things that go beyond the emotion, like questions that arise or certain knowings that arise. And that's from the intuition. So, feelings, emotions, intuitions. And the Elder of Water, or the King of Cups, is a person who, or in this case, a mermaid, who has gained mastery of the emotions and the intuition. So mastery of the emotions, really often refers to not being quite so reactive, emotionally reactive, right? Mastery of the emotions is about sort of being able to know what you're feeling, being able to know how it feels to you, being able to understand that the questions that arise and the certain knowing that arises, like you can trust what's going on in there, but also being able to bring a rational perspective to those feelings, to those intuitive responses, being able to think about what we do with those feelings and emotional responses to have a better impact, to have a more positive impact. And, the elder or a king is not a person who just feels and reacts for their own good. A king is a person who serves a lot of people, a ruler, a leader of people. So, it's important the way we react when we're the king of cups, or when we're the elder of water, or when we can relate to that figure. It's important the way we react, because it affects not just ourselves, but a whole lot of other people. Think about your family, think about your community, your cohort at work or in the social or civic sphere. Okay, the way we react to the way things feel to us, the way we react to those intuitive responses has an impact not just on ourselves, but those other people. So it's important to have to be able to combine the rational with the emotional, to be able to combine the intellect, that air sign sort of logic, conflict resolution, analysis of situations, analysis of our own emotions, and recognition of our own emotions probably not being our own, but that of others, right? So it's a little bit of a deeply watery, deeply emotional and intuitive vibration, but combined with a strong air-like rational ability to respond. Okay, so there's mastery of emotion that comes with a little mixture of water and air there, that allows us to respond in a way that isn't harmful, to respond in a way that doesn't rile people up unnecessarily, that doesn't cause a lot of turmoil or change in a situation, that doesn't necessarily reflect our values, or that doesn't necessarily change things in the way that we want to see them go, right? So it's important to work. If you realize you're a person who doesn't have emotional mastery, if you realize that you're the kind of person who just reacts very emotionally, and that often causes some sort of disruption, then you realize now that it's time to be able to assess and think about and make a plan regarding how it is that you're going to react to that initial emotional reaction. Okay, so where do we see the Elder of Water on the page here? Well, the water signs we have involved right now are Pisces, and then the moon is our ruler of Cancer. So the moon is in Leo right now, moving on into Virgo this afternoon. And the moon is actually quincunx to Neptune today. So I'm going to talk to you about this yod, this shape configuration that's on the page here today, because I think it's very, very reflective of what's going on with the cards here. So, the moon is in opposition to Saturn right now. Saturn is not in Pisces yet. It's in Aquarius, and Saturn very much values all the time building networks and structures for our own support and uplift. That includes maintaining friendships and good relationships. It also includes the work we're willing to do, the personal investment we're willing to make sure that we feel secure and supported in our own lives. But Saturn in Aquarius goes beyond that. Aquarius is humanitarian vibe. It's about support and uplift for the collective and the community, right? Much like the Elder of Water here, Saturn in Aquarius realizes that the way we behave is important to more people than just ourselves, right? So Moon in opposition to Saturn today, this can give us a feeling of being a little bit emotionally distant, a little cool and disconnected, all right? It's really a good time for contemplation of these these feelings that arise, right? When we think about the structures for security and support that we're seeking to grow, and our responsibility to the community and collective, not just ourselves. So put that in the context of this larger shape here. It's called a yod. Some people call it a finger of God. And what you see down here at the base of the yod is that Mercury culminates a sextile to Neptune today, okay? This can be a really dreamy vibe. This is our intellect, our rationale, right? A very important part of the Elder of Water here, our intellect and rationale in a cooperative condition right now with our imagination, our creative side, our dreamy side, right? So our minds are not so much on material particular things. It's hard, it can be kind of hard to focus on the day-to-day responsibilities at a time like this, because we're so much in this sort of dreamy state of mind where we're just imagining our ideal circumstances, what we wish we had in the world. Neptune and Pisces down here, very watery vibe because Neptune rules Pisces. So right at home, just asking us to dream about our ideal circumstances and think about our connections to others, not just our individual relationships, but our relationship to the collective in general. And we're thinking in idealistic ways right now. Okay, we're thinking big picture, and we're thinking idealistically about what we would like to see be the outcome for everybody at this time. And so these two are sextile, and then they both have a quincunx here to the moon. Now, quincunx is a time of adjustment. It's a time for negotiation. It's time for rehashing things. It's time for not necessarily being certain about what's going to come next. It's more a time to sort of be thinking about it. So we have this dreamy vibe, this thinking, this imagination about ideal circumstances at the base, and then we have this moon at the focal point, right? So it's really, how do you feel? And moon in Leo, it's how do you feel, when you're shining, when you're being your best, when you're bringing your best to the situation that you're in, your relationship, not with just yourself and your loved ones, but with the collective in general. And that opposition to Saturn here that runs right up the middle of that yod just puts the emphasis on the importance of contemplation today. Okay, so setting emotion aside, not necessarily setting intuition aside, setting emotion aside, and really getting quiet about the things that we feel certain about. Okay, this really says, don't try to entertain any certainty about anything right now, right? We are imagining possibilities. We're not necessarily feeling certain about anything. And then the yellow lines here, the quincunxes, they say, yeah, uncertainty abounds right now. So, this is a time to be thinking about things and figuring them out. And then the moon in opposition to Saturn says, yes, this is a time to give some consideration. While we are, out of our most emotional way of being, while we have a little bit of coolness and distance from the problem, or we have a little bit of coolness and distance simply just from the way we feel about things, we can give some consideration. We can give ourselves to contemplation of these serious material vibes, of what is necessary for our support and uplift, and what is necessary for the support and uplift of others. Okay, so I want to emphasize that this is not about knowing what you think is right for yourself or the world in terms of support and uplift. It's not about being certain that you know what is wrong in terms of finding answers for your own support and uplift, or the support and uplift of others. It's about being uncertain and dwelling in that uncertainty, okay? Because we have a little bit of cool distance from our emotions, right? So it can be a little easier to dwell in that uncertainty. And in that uncertainty, allow our intuitive self or our intuitive guides to help us allow some solutions to arise? You know, like what kind of fanciful thing, you know, can we be imagining? What kind of pie in the sky ideal circumstances can we be imagining? And then we're thinking about, you know, also we're thinking without being certain in terms of how to provide uplift and support for ourselves and everyone else. What can we allow to bubble up in that sort of stew of imagining what might be great to have, and also being a little emotionally detached and thinking about what really needs to happen, right? So really pay attention if you do this contemplation, and we're really called on to do some kind of contemplation today, especially during the void of course moon, okay? Really pay attention to any ideas that come up for you that are not things you would normally think up. Okay. Ideas that surprise you, ideas that come to you as though they are brand new. Okay. Be grateful for those perspectives as they arise from the intuition, because you've given them the space, right? You know, you've sort of combined this fanciful thinking with an emotional coolness and an ability to you know, view the support you need from a detached perspective, and just allow those new ideas to arise. And whatever arises for you, you know, make a note of it, write it down, think about it, discuss it with somebody, and, you know, allow it to inform you for a new approach, an approach that works for everybody, right? An approach that is from the heart, because the Elder of Water always comes from the heart, but also with a rational perspective that allows you to assert yourself in a practical way that really does help the situation. And bringing that together with the Six of Swords, you know, this is, I mean, they're very similar to me, because in this situation, rationally, things have gotten so out of hand that our emotions become overwhelming and we can't really think straight, right? So part of leaving the situation is putting that situation behind us that feels like nonsense, and also part of it is putting behind us the turmoil that comes with the fact that we were engaged in something that made sense, but it turns out to seem like nonsense, right? So when you create that distance, when you move away, when you pull out, when you zoom out, you become a little cool and distant about the emotions. You become a little less emotional, or you just become more calm in your emotional perspective. Then that's when you'll have the opportunity to assess what is best for yourself, for your loved ones, for your community, and beyond. Very clear there. Yeah. So please let me know if you have any questions about this in the comments section, or you know, if you've had any experience with sort of clearing the mind and allowing these new ideas to bubble up from the intuitive depths. Please let me know about that. I'm really open to a discussion about this today. So thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate your support and you continuing to show up for these. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today and Tarot.